my god, how the hell do I even name that shit? As many of you already know, a lot of malware samples replace the MBR with their own custom written code, which basically replaces Windows bootloader with theirs. You should already be familiar with why that works, since, as we said in a previous video, the MBR determines what bootloader to execute the boot sequence from. A simple example is with MEMS, that on MBR systems forces you into watching a cat jumping up and down in an animation. MEMS is using the exact same technique as we will be, which only works on MBR, as Peter Fox mentioned in the comments. However, it will still make the system completely unbootable, even in UEFI systems, as we saw in the previous video. All of us can agree, MEMS's MBR override is not really practical, and was more than likely done for entertainment, just as all malware samples payloads should be though. A more harmful example is Petya, a ransomware that after encrypting your files also replaces your bootloader. To what? To a kernel asking for the decryption key, not even allowing you to access your operating system. You might ask, what if you have a UEFI system? Well, in that case, you're simply out of luck. Now that we know what can be done with such a payload, let's determine the stack we need to use to replicate it. I'm still going to use C++ and the Win API, because of its relative low level and simplicity compared to other options. Something we did not use previously that will be used here is assembly, a low-level language close to machine code. You'll see why we need that in a second. Of course, in our examples, we're not going to show anything as complex as the Petya payload, although keep in mind that in theory anything can be installed this way. Custom operating systems, SOC value screens, or even Linux. Hell, anything that is bootable at all can be burnt into a drive with that method. We have full administrative privileges after all. To achieve what we want, we will need to develop a custom kernel that will then override the MBR with. That is precisely the reason assembly will be used. Note that we could have paired it with C, but for a simple hello world prompt, I deem that completely unnecessary. Instead of guiding you through the x86 handbook and writing the bootloader like cavemen, we'll just copy-paste some code I found on the internet. Writing assembly is tedious and beyond the scope of this video. With some basic modifications, it will be able to write hello world to the screen using some basic interrupts. Then it will proceed to halt the CPU. Now we can compile our code to binary. This binary is our bootloader now. To test out the bootloader, we could either use QEMU, which you would use in case you actually did kernel development on the daily, or just VMware, which is our target system. It can be used as a floppy image regardless. The bootloader itself is too simple to use Visual Studio resources to embed. Instead, we'll just hard-code it for demonstration purposes. Many of you would begin copying every byte one by one, or write a script to do that for you. What a lot of people don't know is that XXD has an argument that creates a C array for you of the binary contents directly. Then you can just copy-paste that to your source code without much effort. That brings us to making the program. The code is similar to the old one, only difference is we already have the array and write it directly to the drive. This overrides the Windows bootloader instantly. And that's pretty much it. There's not much else to cover. If you like this new series where we analyze malware and their payloads in great detail and then recreate them, consider dropping a like or a dislike respectively. Without the feedback, I do not know who wants me to continue and who doesn't. Thanks for watching and stay safe everyone.